All right, hey everybody. It's good to see you. I can't see any of you, but it's nice that you are tuning in to this video. It is likely going to be the shortest video I've put out since this has all started. What is going to happen is that each Friday, instead of doing a lesson through Google Classroom that's connected to Wheatley, you'll be doing a Common Lit article that is connected to Greek mythology, is connected to the books that we are reading, and especially will be connected to Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief once we get there. But rather than me going through each individual part with you, we're going to use it a little bit like a quiz, where I'll give you a little bit of information at the beginning. I might even go over a lesson briefly, but then I'm going to just stop the video and you're going to do the rest on your own. And the video will help you with a certain portion of it, but most of it you'll have to do your own reading through Common Lit. You can still use the guided reading, read aloud option if you would like, but it will see how much skills you are gaining on your own, not just with my assistance and the assistance of others as well. You'll also have a choice. You can do the Common Lit article will be available at the beginning of each week, and so you can do it on your own at any point during the week, but Friday is the day that it will be most important. But on Friday during our 2 o'clock Zoom meeting, that's when I'm going to be going over it. So if you want to do it with us during the Zoom meeting, you can, or you can do it and then check in, or if you want to just skip the Zoom meeting, do it on your own, it's your choice. But those who do it before and do their best on it on their own and then come to the Zoom meeting later to go over it are the ones who are probably going to gain the most and make the most progress and learn the most from it. So today, and the lesson will be a little bit shorter, quite a bit shorter actually, and it'll be connected to an article from Common Lit. So the article that has been assigned that we're going to be quizzing on is Chrion, the Wisest Centaur. Okay? And you're going to be asked when you do this to answer a bunch of different questions, guided reading to go through to make sure you understand as you go. And then your assessment questions at the end are going to ask about the main idea. They're also going to ask about the feelings about Hermes or Chrion. You're also going to be having to pull information from the text and choose the best evidence to prove your choice from the previous answer. And then last, you are going to describe the relationships between Chrion and other important figures in Greek mythology. Yeah, so that's what you're going to be doing on this quiz. So I'm going to just give a little bit of a lesson first, and then I will model a little bit of that lesson for you, and then the rest will be completely on your own. Okay? So here we go. The lesson is on one of the things that you're going to be asked about, which is determining the main idea of a text. So we are going to today get better at determining the main idea of a text by using an everyday main idea strategy. And those of you who remember back in school, this should sound very, very familiar. Okay, so some key terms. Main idea, I hope that you can still recite this in your sleep, is the most important points the author is making about a topic. That is what a main idea is. The second, what is a topic? That is who or what a text is mostly about. Okay. And then third, the word details or any kind of information about a topic from a text. If you know what those 3 things are, you're going to understand this lesson just fine. Okay. So there's a couple different strategies for main idea. I'll be teaching them at different points throughout. These are all ones that I've already taught before, so this is reteaching. And the strategy is called what? So what? It should sound familiar to all of you. But I'm going to break it down in exactly what that looks like and then show you a little bit of it as we go along. So the first step, there's 3 of them, is finding the what. Okay? And so the what of our what so what strategy is the topic, who or what the text is mostly about. In order to do that, we look at the title. The very first thing that we should do before we do anything is look at the title. That'll usually tell us what the entire text is about. After we look at the title, though, we can read the first topic sentence, which is usually the first sentence or the first paragraph, or the introduction if there is an introduction. In the case of this article, there will be an introduction that we can read. It's going to give us a lot of information about what the text is about. And then you can also, if there's any text features like pictures or captions, things like that that you think are connected, preview those, look over them. They might help you, give you some clues about what the text is actually about. Okay, that's step 1. If you don't do that first, everything else is meaningless. So find the what. Second, step 2, so what. For each section or paragraph, read each section and paragraph, and then mark what information we learn about the topic. So once we know what we're learning about, each section or each paragraph is going to give us some new information about that topic. After we read it, we should write down what we learned so that we can later combine it to get our main idea. If you're having trouble doing this, find what the details in a section or a paragraph have in common. Oftentimes when authors are writing, everything in a paragraph will be giving similar information about that topic. If it's about where the person is about, the article is about a person, a certain paragraph might talk about where that person lived, and so all the details there will be about where that person lived in that paragraph. And then when they go to the next paragraph, it might be about how their early life was. And so finding what is in common between all the sentences in the paragraph will help you figure out what this is. And then, or another way you can think about it is just summarize each section or paragraph. If you're a good summarizer and you feel like summarizing is useful for you, you can summarize each section or paragraph, and that'll help you find your main idea as well. Some clues to look for some new information you weren't already told as you're going through each section. If you were told about one thing in a new section, they kind of repeat it in the next section, then you probably can combine those two sections and not worry about it too much. And then the big thing is to repeat for each section or each paragraph. And you should read and find the important point the author is making for each section. If paragraphs are very similar, we might be able to combine them. But this, if we don't repeat it, if we only do it for one section, then we might not find our main idea. We might only just find one small part of it when we really need to look for the whole thing. It's a big picture idea. And then last, step 3, we just combine all of our so whats. Okay? Now, before we look to see what the details in a section had in common, we're going to look at what all of our so whats have in common, if they do have things in common, so that we can shrink it down to the most important ideas. And then find what's the information is repeated. If we see that information is said over and over again, that's because the author is making a really, really clear point. And so we want to make sure that we are looking for information that was repeated in our so whats. And then last, we just turn it into a logical statement. If we just list out all of our so whats, it's probably not going to sound like a main idea statement. But if we take all those and then make complete, thoughtful sentences with proper punctuation and grammar, then that will turn into a good main idea statement. Right? Today for the quiz, I'm going to give you a little bit of help on the what and the first so what for a section, but the rest is going to be completely up to you so that you can eventually combine this and find the main idea and the other skills that are being asked for you. This is the most important thing that you can do when reading a text for the first time, because if you cannot find the main idea, if you don't know the main idea, then doing anything else more challenging, such as making inferences or connecting it to other texts that you've read, is going to be really, really challenging. All right, so step 1, finding the what. So that is the topic. I know I'm going to look at the title. So, bam, Chrion, the wisest centaur. Now, I know from my video that I already explained what a centaur was. A centaur was a half-horse, half-human hybrid that's together. And when I look down here, I can already see that there's seems to be like a person who's standing, but he has horseback legs. And so I'm guessing that this text is most likely about Chrion, and who must be a wise centaur. Okay, so I looked at the title. I'm going to mark the title. Oh, it's not letting me mark the title. Bummer. Okay, well, I'm just going to or can I just do that? No. Oh, this is awkward. Okay, so this I'm going to do something a little bit different in a second. But, okay, so getting back to this, we think it's about this person, Chrion, who's a wise centaur. I found the title, and now I'm going to also read the first topic or sentence or introduction. I already previewed the features as well, and that might help me find even more. So it says, here's a text that happens before the rest of this text, and so I'm going to check that out. It's an introduction. Centaurs are creatures that have the upper body of a human and the lower body of a horse and appear in various works of fiction and Greek mythology. One of the most well-known centaurs in Greek mythology is Chrion. In this fictional interview with Hermes, the messenger of the gods, Chrion discusses his life and his accomplishments. As you read, take note on how the author describes Chirion's character. And so, yeah, throughout here I could definitely tell that it tells us what centaurs are, and then tells us that Chrion is one of the most well-known ones, and that this whole text is going to be an interview that Hermes does with Chrion. All right, so this whole text is definitely about Chrion, who is a wise centaur. And so, again, I wish I could connect it to this text here, but I would write down that my what is Chrion, the centaur. So once I've done that, now I can start getting to my my so whats. I want to get rid of this highlight because I'm not sure it's going to be important. Go away, highlight. Remove highlight. Great. That's how you remove a highlight, guys. Did you see that? Marvelous. Now, as I go through each section, I'm going to write down what I learn about Chrion from each of these sections to combine. So I'm only going to do it for one to give you an example, and then the rest is up to you. It says, oh, and it also notice that this is an interview with Hermes, and so you'll notice that there's Hermes, then there's Chrion, there's Hermes and Chrion. So Hermes is going to probably ask a question in the interviews, then Chrion answers the question. Hermes asks another question, he answers it. So that's kind of just how this is organized. So Hermes says, "This is Hermes, messenger of the gods, reporting for the Greek Mythology News Network, live from Mount Pelion. We're lucky today to be joined by Chrion the Centaur, the extremely talented mentor who trained many of the heroes we feature regularly on our show. Chrion, I've heard you had a challenging childhood. What happened and how did you get through it?" And so this confirms the idea that this is going to be about Chrion. And from Hermes we learned that he is an extremely talented mentor who trained many heroes. So Chrion was a mentor who trained many heroes. Bam. And so that is my first so what. Again, if I wish I could add it here, my what is Chrion, and something I learned about from him in this section is that he was a talented mentor who trained many heroes. You might also have noticed that it says, "I've heard you had a challenging childhood. What happened and how did you get through it?" And so we could add that here, but we know that Hermes is asking that question. Chirion's probably going to answer it here. And so when he answers the question about his childhood, that might be the kind of information that we want to write down here about what his childhood was like. And that would be another so what to add to your main idea statement. Great. Well, I hope that that was helpful, but also brief, a little bit of a review of finding the main idea. Now you can continue the quiz on your own, and you'll be getting feedback from me to tell you how you did. And then also tune into the Zoom meeting that we'll have at 2 o'clock on Friday to today, which it will be, to either go over it, do it together, or just come and see your friends.